Oh, you know what it is? I think I took a return out.
Uh-huh.
You know what? This code isn't even modified because this was supposed to be here.
Ah,
Yeah, there we go.
magical.
But yeah, should that bang raise an exception? Okay, game's fine. Whoa!
I think we're in. I think we're good.
Greetings.
Welcome back. How was your trip?
Thank you. My trip was delightful. It was really nice to take a break. I didn't think about work for a whole week. Nobody called me from work, which is always a good sign. So yeah,
Were you anticipating that?
I don't know. It's the first time I've really like taken a vacation with this job, so I didn't know what would happen.
I really want to take a vacation.
You should take a vacation.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't want it. Like, I'm like probably veering towards more paranoid about the pandemic than less in that
Mm-hmm.
scale of things. Um, and right now, I think things are kind of freaking out in the country right now. I think third spike is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
it sure looks that way.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No,
Um, yeah, I was thinking about trying to visit Louisiana next month, and I'm not going to do it.
your folks are there. How are they doing?
They're doing fine. I just wanted to see them.
Yeah.
I figured before Thanksgiving might be better because the holidays are just going to become one big travel monster. But
Yes.
I think I have failed. I think the time has passed.
Dan Croak is online. He says, "Practice self-care, Jeff." Uh,
Croaky.
Truer words have never been said. Yes, it's good advice. I heard today that not only is the return of Jeff and Dom make a game like a grand Twitch event of the day.
Woo.
Apparently, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez now has a Twitch stream and
Oh shit.
had streamed today. I missed it. I actually kind of wanted to see it.
Yeah. Should we start a Twitch raid?
Uh, for AOC's Twitch
Yeah.
channel. Yeah, I don't know. Like our hobby can follow our politics, I suppose.
It already was doing that. Yeah.
It's true.
That's
Yes.
super cool.
Yeah.
Also, like there was good news today where Bolivia is socialist now. It's delightful.
They were. What happened? It like I remember them losing like a big election like 2 years ago. Was it something
Yeah,
like that?
well, they claim that the United States instigated a coup, which is not implausible.
Yeah.
We're really good at that part.
Yeah.
So who knows? But it seems pretty cool. At least
Okay.
there was a election that went lefty this time.
Yes. So Bolivia is socialist. Twitch is socialist,
Mhm.
and uh, yeah, that's basically it. I'm coming into this stream feeling really inspired actually because I played the shit out of Hades in the last 3 or 4 days.
Dude, I've played so much Hades. It's so amazing. Wait, okay, so I asked in my work video game channel, I was like, all right, who's been enjoying Hades? And someone was like, oh, I've heard about that, but I've been playing Paradise Killer instead.
What is this?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I said. Um, Paradise Killer is apparently a detective story
Oh, I've heard of this.
that
Yes.
really sort of pairs with your background pretty perfectly because it's just like a vaporwave island of murder mystery.
Oh, got
I,
it. Yes.
I am so stoked to play this sucker after I get sick of Hades someday.
Yeah, I heard of that game. I feel like there's another game that is mentioned in the same breath that
Mm.
you play like a temp that works for like a startup, and it's kind of dystopian anime art style.
Hypno
Um,
Space Outlaw? No.
no, it's not Hypnospace Outlaw.
Going Under?
I think that might be it. Yes, you've heard of this.
Uh, yeah, I thought it looked. I was like kind of excited. I was like, oh, I'll play this, and then Hades showed up, and I was like, well, nope.
How many hours have you put into Hades? They're good about giving you your stats. Do you know?
Where do I get my stats? No.
Oh,
I've got 20. I think I've done like 21 runs.
21 runs. Okay.
Yeah,
How many
and
escapes
I
do you have?
two.
Two. Nice. Yes.
Yeah,
Spear?
one with the spear and one with the rail, and the rail is I really like the rail.
The rail is good, right? Like, I'm surprised. I thought when I first started playing with it, I was like, I don't really enjoy this weapon. It doesn't do enough damage.
Mhm.
Uh, but the thing is, I had the same complaint about everything. So it turns out I was just doing it wrong, basically.
I went and watched part of the 7 minute run that's like the world record, and I was just like, this person is playing a different game than I am.
But it's
But
inspiring, right? It's like it actually kind of teaches you to be more aggressive and to choose your boons, like to stack your boons like very, very intentionally. And
mhm,
that was actually when the game clicked for me. I watched that. I'm nowhere near 7 minutes. I think my best run is 30 minutes now.
that's
Uh,
great.
yeah,
Wow.
it's not bad. Yeah, I'll settle for 30 minutes. But
Are you like
yes,
consistently winning now too?
yeah, I basically I can win if I try, right?
Hmm.
Or if I'm not trying to do something funky. But I kind of
Nice.
want to do something funky next. I want to do the. Are you upgrading your weapons already?
A little bit. I realized I can only have one aspect at a time, and now I'm confused again.
Oh, yeah. It's a little the UI in that game. Maybe not its strongest point. Um,
Mm-mm.
but it has a lot of strong points. At any
Mhm.
rate, there's one aspect of the sword. Um, it's like the last one that you can see that's not locked.
Mhm.
I think it's the aspect of Poseidon on the sword, which I haven't unlocked yet. But basically, its perk is it lets you knock your cast out of enemies. So like if your cast is embedded in enemies, you can hit the enemies with your sword, and then the cast will come back.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
What?
and
That's amazing.
there's this there's like also a Hermes perk that lets people that forces your cast to drop after 3 seconds or something like that. That's also really
Mhm.
good. There's an
Or
Artemis boon that
right, that does
does
damage when it pops out,
exit
which
wounds.
is
Yeah, yeah. So like apparently the thing to do is to play that aspect with exit wounds if you can find it, and it's really good.
then you just take the Artemis keepsake and hope you get lucky. That's there's like 50. There's so many ways to play the game, and I love it.
Yes, and it kind of makes me want to. This is just gonna happen. Like we're gonna play games, and it's like I want to make Manchester into this, but like I kind of want to like do random level generation now, and uh, I want to do like really bitchin' weapons, and
Yeah.
I don't know, like Bolo already had a little bit of like stuff you find kind of like changes the way the game plays a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, well, not so much. You find pillboxes in Bolo. That's basically it, right? But we could do something like that, right?
I've got no problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, making I feel like we're still spending so much time just figuring out like getting our sea legs here and
Yeah.
getting our systems underfoot that like I'm really okay just mimicking as many things as we want from other games to have fun with it because like it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be really good. Um.
Hey, so yeah, Hades, it's great. Everyone should buy it.
Yes. I'm pleased as punch that I did not break the game because I did a lot of like refactoring and stuff. I just wanted to just
You
fix
did,
all our type check errors.
yeah, you did not, and the thing that you can probably see is that actually we have 50 FPS and I'm shooting bullets, and this was like 30 or 20 before.
Yeah, it's cool. We're not hitting the other tank though, right?
No, because in the shooter or damager, wait, I gotta move this window.
Yeah.
I think in the damageable system, I'm only looking at we're looking at the Quadtree, and we actually need to include all the players as well.
Okay. Yes. I think I noticed a bug because I was doing some exploratory work later on in the afternoon today.
Mhm.
And I think it was the attack system, maybe.
Attack sounds right. Yeah.
Um, line 31. I think we're
Mhm.
passing the wrong transform into
Ah.
damageable. I love it.
Mhm.
.aabb. I
Mhm.
think that d dot transform should actually be uh,
Oh. Right.
whatever the other entity is, which we don't have right here. We'd have to look up
Oh,
that.
it's damageable. This is damageable dot transform.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, that was
Yeah.
the thing I saw. Yeah.
Yep. So that's interesting. Uh, why did why did it work?
I don't know.
Okay, so well, things still shoot, so it must be fine.
Okay, yes. I don't know why that didn't matter before, but
Yeah, wait a minute, because we're doing, huh? All right, I have questions, but it's fine, I guess.
yeah.
Cool.
So how does so tell me about you put the Quadtree into this sucker.
Yeah, that's
Um,
correct.
what is actually being put into the Quadtree? Is it points?
The Quadtree is. Oh, that's a great question. So in the entity manager, we're inserting, we're doing ID insertion, and then the Quadtree knows it's. Wait. This Quadtree insert e.id.
Oh, it's the
Oh,
comparison function
it's
that knows.
it's the comparator. I forgot that
Yeah.
this whole thing is comparator based, right? So we insert an ID. The comparator is looking at tile box in overlap. So, is that a point? No.
Oh, I see. So it's in it basically it's in it overlaps if it's in the tile box.
Yeah, if there's an overlap in the tile box, it matches that. Is it possible to insert into multiple quadrants with the same object here? I think actually it would be.
Uh it would be if our floating point math is bad.
Yeah. But
But
also it'd be okay because every query would still be correct if it picked incorrectly.
yes, we just have to be careful in how we would remove, which is okay because there's no removal on that data structure
Yep.
right now.
Yeah, so really it shouldn't be tile box. It should be, we should get like the center.
Actually,
Which actually,
can we see that? Can I see that code again? I'm sorry.
yeah, totally.
Comparator entity ID. Oh, I see. We do get the tile box out of the entity. Yeah, so it is possible for
Yep.
the entity to be in there multiple times. That's fine.
But really, this, so in fact, this doesn't need to be here for insertion because really we want the center point, which is the position for our tile line entities. So,
Well, the reason why I'm asking is that in the attack system we don't appear to grow the attack AABB. So I think the code that you have right there is correct.
okay. And we don't grow, what do I query against? Oh, that's why this didn't even matter. Because we're actually saying like the bullet is so tiny that it actually is just like when you query and get the entity back, like you're just getting the entity. So in
Uh,
fact, the only thing we are actually looking at is that it's not yourself and it's not immune. This could go away and be
yeah,
fine.
we could get rid of that. I'm actually surprised that that didn't screw things up because I would imagine that the overlap would return false. Like AABB overlap. I would imagine that that call would return false for a lot of things.
Well, before this is always true because it's
Oh yeah,
the
technically yes, you're correct. It's always true.
that's the identity,
I
and
see.
this is
That's why it works. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's always true.
yeah, this was always true, and this one, and it was already since it was doing like a point query essentially on the Quadtree, you always got back the thing you hit. So
Yeah.
I actually like that.
That's fine until we add moving entities back in, and then we need that
Yeah.
check again, right?
Okay.
Because the moving entities aren't in the quad tree.
Yeah, I like that we're not doing a query that needs to like I like this point query, it just kind of works. That's really neat.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
That data structure worked out really nicely, I think.
I'm a big fan.
Uh,
So we're deleting it today, right?
maybe because because I think we had discussed upstream
Yep.
that if we're gonna tile align everything and everything's like the size of a tile grid, then we might as well just do a giant two-dimensional array, right?
Mhm. Now that was on our list for one thing, but we also were discussing restructuring the entity manager as a series, as a bunch of lists of individual components.
Yeah. So how interested are you in doing that? Because I'm about 40% of the way through that on a branch, but
Great.
I didn't know if you wanted to pick up on that or do something else. So
I'm I'm pretty interested. So let's see. We've got entity manager refactor by
yeah,
components. We've got replace Quadtree with 64 by 64 grid.
I am
Boy.
opening up my other computer to push the changes, and
Thank you.
just to make them available to you,
Yeah,
should
totally.
you
Super duper reasonable. And I guess the other stuff to do would be like re-enabling systems, like hiding. I can just look and simulate and see.
okay, that's pushed.
Sweet. Yeah, hiding, pickups, turrets, etc. Actually, I can make this bigger. Yeah, totally. For pickups, we could use the Quadtree, but we need removal. So that's kind of annoying. But if we use the with tile grid, it just works. Because pickups are tile aligned. We'll just be adding and removing at the index they're at versus dealing with Quadtree pruning and splitting dynamically.
Yeah, I think technically we don't need removal for the Quadtree if we allow
like an override.
like a minimum AABB grid node, and you just like over the course of time that just returns a bunch of invalid stuff. Like, so that's a possibility.
All right, because you'll get NTIDs that like aren't in the entity manager. You just get undefined back and deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we already do that with wall collision, right? Because you can destroy walls. And does the wall collider use the Quadtree yet?
It does. So what you're saying? Wait a minute. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and we don't remove from the Quadtree already. So we're already doing this pattern where like we're getting stuff back out of the Quadtree, but
that's right. Because when we go and look at the entity and we're pulling out the wall and the transform, so that makes sense. Whew, worried me for a second. And then I guess this actually is there, and you just have to deal with it. It's in the Quadtree, that is.
Yeah.
So then I don't know. All three of these are pretty big. This one's nice. I feel like we're pretty sure that this is going to happen. You're working on this right now.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to pick up your half finished idea because I bet you have it the rest of the way in your head.
Okay, cool. I don't mind either way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's drop in this thing because I bet we could do it maybe a little quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then experience the benefits. I'm sad because our Quadtree is really cool.
I think it'll still be useful if we have a lot of moving entities.
I think so, and then we can sort of figure out how to optimize insert and removal for movement. That would be cool. I think I agree that it will be really helpful.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you what, the Quadtree. My one argument against doing this is that the Quadtree works, and
it does.
The replacement with the 64 by 64 array is an optimization that we maybe don't need to do right away. I mean, we'd either do it because we want to optimize, or we do it because we want to like simplify the code.
Mm-hmm. I feel no problem with this.
Yeah,
Quadtree works really well. Yeah,
yeah, and if you think about it, the interface for that whatever 64 by 64 array, maybe we should think of the Quadtree more as like the fixed spatial index. And as long as the semantics of that thing is just like, it gives you like a coarse-grained subset of the things that you could be overlapping with, and you know that it's not 100% precise. And if you think about it, what's under the hood could be a Quadtree, it could be a 64 by 64 array, it could be all different kinds of things. And maybe we should think of it like that. We should think of it as like the sort of broad phase spatial index filter, rather than Quadtree maybe leaks the implementation a little bit too much, right?
Yep, totally. Yeah, especially because this could actually contain like insert could be tile aligned or motion, and actually this would pick two different structures based on that.
Yeah, something like that. Really, it's just Quadtree implements index, and the index is the thing that like the game would deal with directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that line of thought, then Quadtree as the spatial index. The thing that doesn't exist here is players.
Yeah.
And I guess bullets too, but I don't. Bullets.
How we sort of backed away from putting moving stuff into the spatial index because we were worried about removal.
Mm-hmm.
And the removal, I think, intersects somewhat unpleasantly with multiplayer code, right? Because we have to remove on. We don't have a precedent for doing what we would need to do. We need to like remove stuff from the Quadtree, or it would need to be.
Arrest.
We need to like snapshot or something like that, right?
Oh, right, because you'll have this bullet show up and then disappear. We're going to have this problem with builders throwing down walls too, essentially. So
Yeah.
we have to address it at some point.
We do. So do we want to address it now?
That's a good question. I mean, we probably should.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess well. So there's a couple things we could do. One of them is like, I think refactoring this into something called like, I don't know. Spatial index sounds like the wrong thing, but not Quadtree. For at least a class name. But we should be putting entities in here, and if they're not committed, they should just maybe be in this bucket of like things that haven't been inserted into the tree yet, but get returned with every query, sort of like the way I was thinking about players.
I see.
So essentially there's the uncommitted bucket, and like you just check against the uncommitted entities too if you're going forward in the simulation.
Yeah, so maybe the way to do that is to have a wrapper class that has the Quadtree in it or something like that.
Yep.
And then it has
That's
a second bucket or something.
I was thinking, do we want to extend this, because the Quadtree really is like these are Quadtree. But yeah, do you want to wrap it one more time? We can do that.
Sure.
So this is spatial index. Is that a good class name? For some reason, I don't like the word index in there. Spatial map?
Yeah. The other thing that you would call this is like broad phase collision detection, which is the way a physics engine would call it. And broad phase that term is used in opposition to near phase. So broad phase is like, give me all the stuff that like is roughly in my proximity that I need to worry about, and then near phase is like, I want to actually calculate precise collisions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, because it's really what we're doing with. Where is it? Yeah, this is near phase. This is broad phase. That feels really clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that cover all our use cases? Like, it's mostly collisions. Yeah. Well, we can rename it. I think that sounds great. So I guess this has a Quadtree that takes all of these things too, or at least the comparator.
Yeah. So what's our interface to this? The broad phase collision detection.
Right.
Is it just query, and then we have to kind of think about what adding and removing do?
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually really like the query as it is. I think this is pretty good. Then yeah, add. Let's see. So I guess our semantics are like, when we add, we're gonna do, if it's tile aligned, or no, it's not. We're not doing that anymore. If it's committed, put in Quadtree. If it's predicted, put in prediction bucket. I guess remove has similar things, which is remove committed from Quadtree, but also keep track of upcoming deletions as prediction. Does that sound right?
Yeah. How is this class going to know whether or not, like, if it returns entity IDs, is that entity ID guaranteed to exist in the entity manager?
If it returns entity IDs,
Or does the client need to check?
I think it'd be really nice if this return. Well, thinking about the future thing where we're doing it based on component types, I feel like we're going to end up checking for that a lot, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be looking for the existence of like a wall by ID, and we probably just have to do a lot of null checks. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is going to end up looking a lot like the entity manager based on the notes that you've typed here.
Yeah, well, and like this and this, yeah, everything with prediction specifically like has to go, like the entity manager has to call this stuff. We don't get a choice.
Yeah, and then also anytime you checkpoint or restore from checkpoint, you also have to touch the broad phase collision detector as well. So, and we were going to have to do this no matter what. So it's either that this is composed into the entity manager as a separate piece, but it has like a very, very large interface because it has to basically have all these hooks, when the entity manager kind of calls into it, or this interface lives on the entity manager itself. The latter one both makes sense and also feels gross. Because I almost don't want the entity manager to have that much logic in it.
Yeah, I mean it's started to though. Like this is maybe the first chunk of what like insert should be in the entity manager itself. So, and actually the addition of players to the entity manager, which I did. Yeah, this is all basically our broad phase. So
maybe the entity manager does have a spatial query. Is that basically what you're saying?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay.
And since it already manages the Quadtree, that part is done essentially.
Yes.
Okay, part of the spatial query is to go and ask the Quadtree what's up.
Yeah, we don't have the separate class. We just have an entity manager that has a query function on it. All right. Let's see how it goes.
Cool. So let's phase detection. At the very least, this does feel like a separate chunk of the class. So let's see. Query is a query by ABB. Do we want to be specific? What's the interface you were working on look like?
I actually think the one that is in there looks good. I mean, line 119 looks like the right thing.
Okay.
And because I think until we have a different kind of query, maybe we can just call it query for now.
Cool. All right. That sounds reasonable.
I really wish that there was a way to do, what's the word I'm looking for? You know how in Go, maybe it's not in Go, but like in some languages you can like alias over strings and just give it like a different type, but then regular code can't make instances of that, or like only a single library can make instances of that.
Wow.
I forget what you call that technique. But I've really wanted to have an entity ID type, even though they're just strings. And I wanted all like string primitives to work on them, like equals and greater than or less than, so they're sortable and comparable. But I don't like the fact that, I don't like the fact that like we can't say when we want entity IDs, they're just strings, and it feels a little bit ambiguous what it means.
Well, and I've experienced the terrible pain of this because where did I do? There was one of these systems. Maybe it was the shooter. Oh no, maybe it was the wall collider. Yeah, I was looping over this. This is a string. I wanted an entity ID, and I wanted this type should not have been indexable into the entity manager because it's the string index of the array, not an entity ID. So I would really like that.
Okay, opaque type is what is the word I was looking for.
Can we do it?
So I'm looking in Stack Overflow. Someone says the TypeScript type system is quote unquote structural, so any two types with the same shape will be assignable to each other. That's the exact opposite of what we want. Mm-hmm. I guess they oppose the term structural with the term nominal. Nominal type is based on like the types are the same if their explicit names are the same.
Yeah, interesting.
Apparently, there's a long-standing issue in TypeScript to add this feature. That long-standing since July 2014 GitHub issue.
Oof.
All
right. So if I do type entity ID
equals string. You can do it. The only problem is it's a very weak constraint. Mm-hmm. It does at least let you, because you could pass any string in there, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. What you really want is like to only allow the return value of a single function from a single library to give you objects of that type, basically, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I say interestingly, no, you cannot, like, this is unhappy to do that, which really sucks too.
Oh yeah, and this is just a stupid thing, probably because if you allowed TypeScript to do that, it would get really slow because it would have to like resolve all these aliases in the keys or something like that. I'm pretty sure in Go you can do that. In Go you can. In Go, I think what happens in Go is like you can add functions like class like instance functions onto random types in Go, and then you just add a function that can't be exported, so you can never create it. There's like hacks in Go that you can do to like create the same effect as what we're trying to go for. But apparently in TypeScript, I wonder if there's even some kind of hack that we could do.
Yes, so this is wild because my query returns entity ID, but by the time I've made it over to the wall collider, it's a string.
It's a string, yeah.
Damn. That's too bad because I really would have liked that. I guess I could do this. And then, I probably need to export. And, oh man, I'm really sad when TypeScript just doesn't do the thing.
There is a
wow, it doesn't even care over here. It's just like, nope, you're a string.
That is weird. There is a library called NewTypeTS.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is like in the realm of like anytime there's a library that like invents a new language feature, like be very afraid, right?
NewTypeTS. Oh,
I'm not 100% sure if we can. Oh, we have to do wrapping and unwrapping. Nah, I don't want to do this. They just make like use a class to do this, and I just don't think that's a sensible way of.
Yeah, pass. It's cool though.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have something like this? Because
it really would.
It's hard to tell when IDs should be IDs.
Yep. Yeah. Gosh, that's. Could we make this better? And the reason they're strings and not even numbers is because that they want to be because they just have to be indexes and they're always strings. So,
yeah.
JavaScript. All right. Well,
we could rewrite it in Rust.
Every time you say that, it sounds a little better.
Yeah,
Not gonna
just
lie.
like infinitesimally better. We're never gonna get there, but it does. I know exactly what you mean.
It sounds really good. I was actually thinking that, yeah, I was like thinking Rust and Wasm, and I was just like, well, I want to learn those technologies, so why not? But no.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about like spending one of these weekends, and rather than making forward progress on the game, I thought about writing the game or writing pieces of the game in Rust um, to see how it would go.
It's, you know, there's a lot of game here, but also like you could rebuild a lot of this
I
pretty
think we
fast, I
could do it
bet.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the way that we've designed this, where all the business logic is like they're essentially functions on state that gets passed in. Like that's the way the
Hmm.
system model works. That's like exactly how you have to write a Rust program. Um, because you can't have two objects that point at each other in Rust that can modify each other. That's like the fundamental thing that you can't do in that language.
Oh, but that's great.
We don't
Okay,
have that
sure.
at all. We don't have that at all. We have like pieces of business logic that have like godlike control over a slice of world state. Um, and yeah, anyways, maybe fun to look into. I don't know what your interest level is in learning a new language at this point, but
I mean, God, I'm curious. Rust is really good,
it's
so
really good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I could be talked into that.
Okay.
Oh gosh, we should do web workers first, but yeah,
Okay. Okay.
because then we can do a WASM web worker, right?
Yes, we could.
Yeah, sounds pretty great.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy, this game runs great when it's not talking to a server.
Oh yeah.
That was the problem all along. Lordy. Okay, so let's see. Query sort of already what exists, but actually we have Quadtree results, and we want to return Quadtree results plus this dot players. Can you not? Oh man, I have to do dot append. Fine. Really?
Concat or
Oh,
dot push with dot in for the
for
argument.
some
I think
reason.
that's the way that we did that before. Is dot push with yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Although dot concat is fine as well. Dot concat is chainable, which is the nice thing.
Hmm?
Um, although
Why is
technically this will be
this?
chainable, right? We could do this dot players, comma dot any other stuff, right? That
Mhm.
we would put that we want in there.
Oh, the reason not to though is that splatting this dot players returning the indexes.
This dot players are entity IDs, right?
Yeah, it's an array of strings, but it's saying that I'm trying to push a number versus concat, which is
Oh, so do
totally
we
okay.
wait? What is dot push doing? What? I don't think I understand the types there.
Oh, here, wait. I have an idea, which is const what equals players, the sub players. Oh, well, maybe that. No, what is a string array? I do not know. Oh, push returns a number? Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
push modifies the yeah in place. Yeah, and then we return Quadtree results.
Not Ruby. You can't just write some bullshit at the end. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, auto accept all remote control requests. That's cool. Whatever.
I didn't make a remote control request. That was creepy.
No, I've got the toolbar underneath on my screen that Zoom lovingly hides, but
Got it.
still manages to like capture a bunch of mouse clicks.
So one of the questions I have in my mind is that this
Yeah.
query does not discriminate in terms of. I think we already knew this, but maybe we don't need to solve it now. But maybe I'm just saying this to remind ourselves of this problem. But it basically assumes that all entities are the same size for all purposes.
It assumes that all entities are the same size. The Quadtree does.
Yes, but this does
This
too. So, like, basically, what we're saying is that the wall collision bounding box and the damageable bounding box and the attack bounding box, if are all going to be the same, right?
Oh, that's true. Hmm.
Uh,
But but only for the purpose of querying, yeah, we're looking at the tile box. But when we go to the damager, we actually do look at the the attack. We look at the hurt box. We should look at the hurt box.
but the attacker AABB we never pull that out of the quad tree, so we don't. It's not a problem for the attacker one, but it
Hmm.
will be a problem if wall collision is ever not the same size as damageable collision, right? Or if something has wall collision but is not damageable, right? Because when you query this, it'll return everything that is of a
Right.
particular size, but it's not. It's independent of the application of that thing. Is what I mean.
Correct.
So this is just a reminder. I think we knew of this problem before, but like you could imagine the system evolving into a query where not only do you give it a space, but you also give it an enum value or something like that. You're saying like what type of
Mm.
thing are you
Hmm.
querying for?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Would it make it's tough? Would you do multiple quadries at that point?
Yes, you would have one
Okay.
quadtree for every single filter that you would pass in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So when we get to the um, like when we get to the splitting stuff up entities by components into the entity manager, we'll actually have a quadtree per section of
Potentially,
queryable
yeah.
objects.
The,
Okay.
the other option I think we thought about was like having a quad tree inside of the system, right? And each system would have its own concerns that it would maintain a quad tree for, but I think we decided that was a little bit too much plumbing.
That
It
felt
was,
like a lot.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Just the game just crashed really hard in Firefox. So
I like it. I like to
yeah,
crash the game. It makes me feel like a hacker.
I'd like to know what I did though. I
Did it
feel like
like
we
hard
didn't
crash
change.
Firefox?
Yeah, it did. It was unpleasant. Which is funny because I feel like we
I'm
did not
impressed.
actually do a lot. Ah, and yet, wow, yeah, it's beach balling, baby.
Ooh, this might be
It was.
tough to find out what was going on.
I saw something about other was not defined, and I really want that back.
The attacker system has another, I think.
Hmm. So what's happened is that I have added the player to everything. I bet it's the wall collider because
Oh,
that's the system that's running. But it shouldn't. Players should not be tripping this up at all. Hmm.
what does that array have? That array that we create, that players array actually, does that start off at a certain size, or do we push on to the end of that?
Um. Oh, it's indexed by player ID. So actually, there's like a zero if nothing in there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's undefined. But actually, yeah, okay. I'm curious what this is now. Does this have any weird values in it?
Like
Is
undefined or
I think the question.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's just restart Firefox again. Oh, that's not good. Thanks, man. Okay, yeah, there is an undefined in there.
What's
Type error, others undefined. Okay,
yeah.
great.
So we can't use that as that's a map and not a list, right?
Yep.
So do we do object.values on that this.players?
It's oh no, it is a list. But if we made it a map, it would be better.
What happens if you do object.values on an array that has no zero value?
Huh.
Can we do this in JavaScript console real quick?
Yeah, so it's object values undefined. Let's do x equals array, x1 equals ASDF, x2 equals one empty slot, which
and then what if you do object of values on that? I think that's what we want.
Weird.
That's pretty weird.
Cool.
I imagine that the actual runtime representation of a JavaScript array is like unbelievably complicated because you have to allow for these gappy arrays, right?
Like, what the hell? I wonder if it actually is just a JavaScript object at the very bottom, and they're just. I would hope it would do some like array resizing optimally, but maybe it's not that smart.
I mean, because like an actual numerically indexed array is so much faster than a hash table, right?
Yeah. And yet,
did it fix it?
That's great.
All right, cool.
No more crash. Game works wonderfully.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and this means that I can hit players now.
Oh, nice.
All importantly.
You can't kill it apparently.
This means got a lot of health. Oh, I killed it, and the game is zooming. Oh shit! What's happening in the console? Undefined has no properties. Okay.
Is this an instance of where we've removed the entity? Oh yeah, this is like maybe there's a system that is reading and no longer existing player out of it. Attack system, maybe something like that.
Yeah, well, and I think so. Here we continue to return a player ID, but mark for deletion.
Oh, didn't remove that.
Is not taking it out of the players. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's annoying. That's okay. That seems like my fault. Oh, Firefox. Why? Why?
Does Chrome crash that hard if you crash the tab? I wonder.
I'd really expect not, but let's do it. This is truly a delightful experience about how fast this tank runs away. You can't even see it blipping across the screen.
No, I couldn't see it. Yeah. And can you open a new tab right now?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, yeah. So Chrome is fine. Chrome like has a separate OS process for each tab. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Can you close this tab?
Yeah, I totally can.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I will say Chrome is running consistently like 10 frames slower than Firefox.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, we're learning so much about browsers.
More than I ever freaking wanted to know.
It's true.
I wonder if putting our simulation in a web worker will help us here, because a thread will actually crash somewhere else versus like the render loop of the browser.
Oh, right.
I think that I have high hopes for that in terms of general.
Yeah, but if a thread crashes, I kind of want it to crash the browser. I kind of don't. I want to have visibility.
I mean, the whole browser? I don't want to have to restart it every time we crash.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it is crashing, so it's not wrong.
Did we ever figure out why our emitters are chasing the tank?
Well, here's the funny part. Once I leave the server, like I just restarted it, it should build in a second.
Yeah.
They work perfectly. So I think it's whatever server messages are coming back in are re-triggering emitters, but they're not supposed to be. So now my FAOS is going way up and my emitters are normal.
ish. Yeah, it's no longer offset from the front of the tank as much as we wanted it to be, but um, yeah, I think
Uh,
that must mean that our reconciliation code is triggering emitters when it shouldn't be, right?
yeah,
Okay.
seems like it.
All right. Let's put that on the end of the list.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also our explosions are triggering like 10x what they should be. If I shoot this tree, it probably,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So they're way bigger than they need to be.
it
Yeah.
shoots for a couple more frames. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
Just be glad we don't have camera shake, because boy, would it be shaking for like 10 extra
It would be
frames.
bad.
Okay, so this already I have qualms about, but maybe we should just deal with it. Actually, maybe we should implement add and remove and sort of see how that comes up. And I think these end up being replacements for register and mark for deletion, maybe? Does that sound correct?
Uh,
They're basically, or they extend these methods?
no. What's different about this?
Maybe nothing, because what add needs to do is keep track of prediction. So anything uncommitted doesn't get put in the quad tree until it's committed is the change.
Yeah. Got it.
So actually
So does that mean that we need to return all uncommitted entities in the query?
yep.
And
And actually in what is clear, where do we commit them? We commit them by setting uncommitted to a new set, right? So basically here on here, lines 67 and 72, we take everything from the uncommitted set and put that in the quad tree at that point. Is that's correct, right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's how we do it. Mm-hmm. All right, so maybe then all this register goes back to what it was, and then commit to spatial index ID string. It's really this. Oh.
The player one, where does that happen? I think that just still happens in register, right?
I mean, I just added this, so I can go either way, really.
Well,
Oh, but
this is
commit to
different.
spatial index is
This is not a
the wrong
spatial
method.
index thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is.
It's a good point. Yeah, fair. Okay, yeah, so they're always players. That's okay. Players aren't going in the Quadtree anyway. Yeah. And then I guess what we have is removed from spatial index.
Yeah, which.
Oh, and first let me apply this one before we even. So this is this dot uncommitted dot. Is there an each?
Well, clear checkpoint we only call once, right? We call it in the setup. Is that right? Oh no, we call it in sync server state. Never mind.
Yeah. Maybe and restore checkpoint. Okay, so it's actually clear checkpoint because when we restore, we're actually throwing stuff away. When we clear everything in the uncommitted set, we say is real.
Yeah.
So it's just here.
Yeah.
Okay. Dot map you commit to spatial index. Is that not going to work?
It's for each.
Set. I actually don't know what the set interface is. Is it? I wanted to just pass something like. Does that work? Okay. Yeah. Man, I have never used a JavaScript set in my day job. Okay, so that's great. We clear it out. It's actually really nice. That means a lot of our stuff we have to add to the Quadtree at the right point. So this is
Should the query sort? I know that will be really slow, but
sorry. Should the square sort? By what?
The reason why it matters is that it's non-deterministic otherwise.
Oh, sort by ID?
Yeah, or just sort. Yeah, because it's just strings, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
This
it be dot sort on the 124 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does sort in place, or does it should sort in place, right?
Sorts array takes an optional. Yeah. Oh no, this also returns a number. Gosh, man.
Okay, so yeah. So it's
no, sorry.
Quadtree result dot sort, and then.
Sorry, no, it returns a string array. I don't think it's in place. Is it JavaScript sort by? There is no sort by in JavaScript.
So array sorts. It sorts in place and returns the itself.
Same object.
Kind of
cool.
weird, but yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Whatever.
Yep. Ascending ASCII character order. Okay, that's great. So that means that everyone always processes in the same order.
Yes, that's what we want.
Cool.
And did that just slow it down tremendously?
It sure seems to.
It's like we're like 15 FPS slower, right? Or was that just Chrome?
Dude, it's hard to tell.
Can we get rid of the sort and see what happens?
Yeah. Sorry, wait, it's not hard to tell at all. We can revert it. Yeah, this is still. That's pretty slow. All right, server, come on.
That seems about the same. It wasn't the sort, I don't think.
It's much closer to 40 something. I'm going to go back to Firefox, by the way. Since it crashes the entire thing, it must be using the whole CPU.
Right.
Yeah, I think the only thing I want is for this game to be less of us fighting JavaScript.
We're starting to run into the boundaries a little bit, it feels like, right?
Somehow, yeah, doing predictive simulation in the browser is not the happiest camper.
Yeah.
So this is no sort.
It's slower than it was before. Is it just because the clear checkpoint is adding into the spatial index, or?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's only going to mess with trees, turrets, and walls. So really, this only happens
once.
What we've added is like this happens for every bullet. It does a lookup, and then that. It's not bad. And then this is also happening as we're dropping stuff in here. So all our queries, we added 2 items to every single query that might have been nothing before.
It should be fine.
It should really be fine.
That's worse, weirdly.
Yeah, search me, man.
Okay. All right.
I feel okay about
Sorting
this.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't.
I don't think it killed it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not better. Yeah, it seems fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's great. And then removal. So when we delete.
We should delete in the game loop, I think, or the end of the update. That's when we would remove.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, because it's actually. Oops.
Mark for delete is just marking for deletion.
Right. And then update is actually what does it, because we call entity manager dot update.
Yeah.
entity manager update. Yeah, this only gets called at the very end of simulate. Oh, that's interesting. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct.
Because we call this, we're going to call it twice in the game loop then, or twice in the tick? Because we sync server state. Where does any of this happen? So it happens here when we simulate, and then we simulate a bunch here.
But it's part of the simulation to delete entities, right?
It's part of the simulation. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Right. But they're still on the checkpoint. So when we revert, they don't get deleted.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, this checkpointing.
It's bad, it's been right? Like I actually don't know if it's tenable, right? I'll put that out there right now.
It's hurting my brain, so
yeah.
I'm with you.
But the alternative is to copy everything, right? Is to basically say I have a full snapshot of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Which wouldn't be bad if it was just like copy 1 kilobyte of memory and throw it somewhere, or copy 50 kilobytes of memory and just throw it somewhere. But because this is like a garbage collecting language, we can't do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right, that's it, isn't it? Because we actually have some data.
The whole checkpointing was an optimization over the deep copy, if you recall.
Yeah. Oh boy. I remember our deep clone deep, which we're still doing somewhere. We do it once, right? Yeah, we have to. But parenthesis. This type checkpointed entities. Oh yeah. Well, I remember how this is happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so our goal of removing from the index, backing it up, we need to keep track of our upcoming deletions. Are we doing that? Is that what's in to delete? We clear this out every time. So actually, we can't say to remove from the Quadtree early. Oh God.
Well, we can.
And just reinsert it, essentially.
Yeah. It just sucks, right? I like, and so this is like a pretty unprecedented thing that we're trying to do, which is the checkpointing thing was like barely manageable with one source of truth container that has all the entities. It's a lot more challenging if there's like a second thing that we also have to be adding and removing from and rolling back and rolling forward. And if you think about it, like databases are the same way. Like you can roll back. Basically, like imagine like you have a sequence of SQL queries that like update your data, right? And those are theoretically reversible. But then you also have to push the reversing out to the indexes as well, which is basically the exact. It's actually precisely the same thing, or the same problem that would be. So we can just try it. I mean, it might be okay. It's just that like we added those two functions. You were correct in doing that. We just need to know where to call those two functions.
Right. Yeah, this one feels fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, right, if it's, part of it is, do we need to also remove predicted deletions? That also happens in query, right? if
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, like if I've shot out a wall on my frame, it's no longer in the query. I guess this doesn't matter. You query into the entity ID, or you query the entity manager with an ID of a thing that is no longer there. The entity manager says that's undefined, and then it doesn't have a wall, and then the wall collider
I mean,
works.
I think you're right though that like we should probably remove predicted deletions, or we have to tolerate getting bad entities from the spatial index, which might be fine as well.
I think that is okay.
Okay. If that's okay, then what we're doing here is fine.
Hmm.
And so we only remove from the spatial index when we commit. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just that our commit doesn't know. Our commit doesn't know about deletions.
Oh yeah,
That's
right.
that's the weird thing. Um, because this just gets cleared every frame with deleted objects. Um, that's uh, that's silly. But yeah, clear checkpoint. And really, can I just rename this to commit checkpoint? That's what it is, right?
It's not. We're not committing anything. The commit already happened.
Mm,
Right. The commit
okay.
happened as the result of the sync server state, right? Like, so if we go to that file, like if like we move over to the next tab, the commit happens in the code before we call clear checkpoint, right? The commit is lines 20, is like lines 18 to 32. I think that's what it is.
Right. Yeah. Like we've updated our state based on the server message and then said like you're done.
Yeah. In fact, it's not that we're committing the checkpoint because the checkpoint is not the thing that you commit. You commit, like the checkpoint is the thing prior to the commit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Ugh, this is very confusing.
I want this to say done because I feel like I keep looking for the done method.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We might be due to like talk to somebody about our multiplayer implementation and see what if we're just totally off the wall.
We should. I don't think we are though. I think we're on the wall.
Yeah,
it's just hard.
I think so. We're sitting on the wall. We this is our kind of like our extrapolation of a very well-respected talk about this subject from a well-respected development team that worked on a well-respected game, right? And they kind of said that they did this. But at the same time, as I've played out a lot of the different scenarios, it seems really very complicated. Like, and it's not even that complicated. We actually have a fairly simple idea. It just leads to complicated computation to achieve that idea, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So, I mean, what if we took your idea though? What if we took your idea of saying let's keep track of uncommitted deletes? What would that look like? And why didn't it matter before?
Right. It didn't matter before because restore checkpoint
does it. Yeah. It just
does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I guess we could derive it by looking through checkpoint entities and saying for every checkpoint ID, if it's not in the entity manager, remove. And that's actually maybe not the worst. So this all happens on clear. This is not a set. Damn it. Could it be a set? Oh, it's the whole entity. No, never mind. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it be, it's really more that every entity that's not currently an entity manager should be removed from the index, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just the checkpointed entities. It's...
but the checkpoint entities is everything it's the superset of anything that could be removed.
No, it's not. Because if you go to sync server state again...
Oh, crap. Right. You could delete something and never checkpoint it.
Well,
Wait.
it's more that if you go to sync server state, like
Mhm.
line 18 says, okay, restore the current state of the game to where the checkpoint is.
Mhm.
And then sorry, could you go back to the previous file? Lines 20 through 32.
Wait, sorry, I got. I was gonna split it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
20. There we go.
Cool.
Oh my god, nobody asked for that. Okay.
So in sync server states, the the right tab,
Mhm.
lines 20 through 32 is spitting out committed state because it's basically saying these are all the things that the server said happened authoritatively. And
Correct.
it can delete and add entities there that
Mhm.
weren't in the checkpoint at all, but
Mhm.
they should be considered to be committed. So basically, by the time you call clear checkpoint, you are saying the entity manager right now is authoritative.
Yep.
And so anything that's in the index that's not in the entity manager should get deleted, right?
It's in the index. Yes. But sorry, but that index is that not checkpoint? Because anything we've deleted, we have had to checkpoint because otherwise we couldn't restore it here.
Uh,
So this is
oh, I see. So you're saying,
for cons maybe deleted ID. Yeah. So if I think we're on the same page. If this set entities of maybe deleted ID, find remove from spatial index. So this is our
yeah, let me walk through all the scenarios in my
yeah
head and see if I
totally.
can convince myself that that's right. So what if in sync server state from lines 20 to 32, we create a new entity and then delete it?
Mhm.
It
We
will have
cr-
never gotten added to the checkpoint. Or sorry, it will never have gotten added to the spatial index. Is that correct?
yeah, because it would or it would be in uncommitted. Because what takes something out of uncommitted? Nothing. It would be an uncommitted. It could possibly have been checkpointed on a frame if it was modified immediately, and then this would also delete it. So you could, yeah. Yeah, if it was created, it would be uncommitted. If it was destroyed, it would be checkpointed because that's a checkpointing action.
Okay, so I agree with you then. So basically, what you're saying is that like line, all we care about from line 20 to 32 is stuff that was in the entity manager on line 18, but is no longer in the entity manager as of line 32. Is that what you're
Yep,
saying?
exactly.
Okay, yeah, all right, I agree with you.
Yeah. Oh, and if you've created and deleted within this update, it will be in both of these.
And
But yeah,
it wouldn't have been indexed in the first place. Is basically what we're saying.
yeah. But it would be weird that you would commit it and then remove it.
Yeah.
But nah. Um, okay. So this maybe gets a little trickier, but let's do this dot remove from spatial index. And I think this actually needs to be this dot checkpointed entities of maybe deleted ID. Because oops, we need the entire entity to do its AABB checks and stuff. And not just the ID, because the ID is gone. We no longer have that data unless we grab the object that was checkpointed. So this is a entity.
Right. So basically, sorry. So what you're saying is we need the index to be able to work with IDs. Is that what you just said?
Uh, the we need the entity to be able to index into. Oh, sorry. I guess. Well, we need to be able to find this in the spatial index to remove it at all, and we
Yeah,
can't
but the
find.
checkpointed version of it might not be representative, right?
if it's deleted, it should be.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And that's all we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's deleted, it like has to be, kind of.
So I guess there's two ways of doing that. One is we can use its position, or we can make the index ID aware, which is tricky.
Sorry, yeah, that's why I was trying. That's why I was grabbing the entire. I was
entity.
like, we have to stick the entity in here to do the position. ID aware sounds hard.
I agree.
Okay.
So the problem is the Quadtree's comparison function time travels. Its comparator uses the entity manager directly, right?
Ah, shit. Yep.
Which is maybe the flaw in the comparator function, right? I mean, we could pass an alternative comparator if we wanted to.
Right.
It's weird. That at that point, it's really weird, right? Like.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But also, I mean, this is node remove root. Yeah, but it.
Because what is the comparator? The comparator just tells us what shape we should be. What is the actual shape of? What is the shape and position of the thing that we stuck into the Quadtree? So we could store that in the Quadtree rather than passing the comparator, which I think is what we did originally, right? And the reason why we didn't do that is we weren't sure whether we were going to store points or regions in the Quadtree.
Right.
But I think we're pretty much always going to do regions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like we are doing regions, even if they are really tiny ones.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the tricky part. Okay, so
that's all this like generalization that we're doing. That's all that this sort of like we're going to pass in like a comparator. That's basically saving us from having to store the full region or the full point in there, right?
Yeah. So this is. So let's see. The thing that we want to store then is. Or is it just AABB actually? Is it just a vec2 vec2? And an ID?
Could be an ID, although I don't think the Quadtree cares, right?
It doesn't, though. I do. If we have two things, if we ever let two things be at the same position, I would want to be able to identify them distinctly.
Oh, right. The Quadtree does care because that's the piece of data that you're getting out of it, right?
Oh, also, yeah, it needs to return that.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay. Good point. Cool. Okay, so that's good. So then this becomes a Quadtree of Quadtree entity. Quadtree entity. Ah, man, TypeScript, you're great.
Yeah.
When you're great, you're great.
And we no longer need any of this. Well, we just basically have to copy and paste this.
Well, right, because
right.
Actually, it's just that.
Yeah, exactly.
And our insert is where all this comes in instead.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
that
nice.
was actually a nice save there, Dom. Like I was afraid we're gonna have to break more shit, but I think that was a nice little juke that you.
No. Yeah, this, and it's great because we've already got a spatial index insert. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is gonna work. We've just broken every use of the Quadtree, but we'll fix it in a second.
Yeah.
Okay. insert, and then this is maybe. Okay.
Remember how in the attack system, at the very beginning of the stream, we were talking about how the attack system does an AABB check even though it queries the Quadtree? This is the reason why we needed to do that extra AABB check, because the query on line 122 is also returning stuff that isn't in the spatial index. So you can't trust the spatial
Exactly.
index. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Actually, can I do map R to R.id? Because really, I'm fine if this keeps returning strings, and now nothing's broken.
Oh. Well done.
Boom. TypeScript. Okay, cool.
I bet for some people in this world, for some programmers, like this is all programming. Like they just have such a bountiful imagination that they can just continue dodging these bullets. They're like Neo in the Matrix, right?
Yeah, but does it become bigger spaghetti? I don't want to make too much spaghetti. I like spaghetti, but not that much.
I really want to eat spaghetti now.
I had a lot of spaghetti last week. That's why.
Oh, probably because you were in the cabin, right?
Yeah, it's one of those. We had a cabin. It was like fairly well stocked, but it was still like we brought all our food with us, and a couple pasta dinners are definitely like you can pack those dry goods for an extended period and not worry about it.
Have you ever had backpacking spaghetti?
I kind of love it. Yeah.
This is what we had when I did Boy Scouts when I was younger. Basically, it's like top ramen and powdered tomato soup. And
no, never mind.
Yeah, you make powdered tomato soup and you throw your top ramen in there. And that's dinner. And then for breakfast, you take the little soup packet from Top Ramen, and then you just have a nice salty tea in the morning. It's really good.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's a choice.
Yeah.
I take Top Ramen backpacking a lot, but it's Top Ramen and then one of those Justin's peanut butter packets in the Top Ramen with all the spices. And some powdered coconut milk, and you get like a Thai curry instead.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because the peanut becomes this sort of, yeah, exactly.
And you get more calories, which for backpacking is like a thumbs up.
Wow. That's next level.
It's good. I even pack dehydrated vegetables with that sometimes to like toss some peas in there.
Oh, jeez. I should go camping with you.
I'll talk backpack. I love backpacking, man. Yeah. Great. Let's see. Quadtree remove, Quadtree insert. Quadtree remove should also be a T. Oh, it is a T. Hooray.
Yeah.
And the ID.
Remove is going to be interesting.
Uh-huh. I'm already feeling that. Well, this is good. I didn't want to be done with the Quadtree yet. Oh, it's just that. I could put this check in there. I don't really care. I don't think it matters.
I'm uncomfortable with remove being a T.
What's that? Because what if we have to query? We have to be able to query into the Quadtree to get at our object.
Because remove being a T, does that mean that it has to be like exactly the same value? Do we need a different comparator for the remove comparison? I think we do, right? Because not only does the AABB have to overlap, the ID has to be the same, right?
Correct. Yeah. I guess I was thinking we need the AABB to dig into it, and when we hit the items level, I feel like we start checking IDs instead of comparator. Was my thought.
And what logic checks for IDs? because the Quadtree doesn't know about IDs
Ah, fuck.
yet.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
So, okay, let me throw this out there.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if the Quadtree was ID aware, one of the ways that you could do this, and it would require some rejiggering of the internal implementation, is not only would you have your tree structure, but you would also have a hash table keyed by entity ID or object ID.
Hmm?
And the other side of the value of that hash table would be an array of nodes that thing was sitting in.
Hmm.
The only problem with that, though, is like, how do you update that hash table
I'm gonna say
when
node insert needs like it needs to know about this and be on this level essentially.
yeah, and then also when you do subdivisions, it needs to update the hash table because
Hmm.
you might end up sticking something that's already in the hash table in a lower level of the tree, and you have
Now,
to update the node list again.
I do think we could get away with that with a parent, because you could always recurse back up and right.
Can you walk me through what you're thinking?
I guess I was thinking of I was thinking of like if I remove an item, or rather if we have a hash map of IDs to the exact node they're in, we have a map of all the leaves in the tree. So we're saying like I'm deleting this thing. So we grab the ID, grab the node, and say node delete that ID, and then like figure out if that means you do something with your parents. So it like says parent, my count is now 1. Suddenly you have 4. Now you can like coalesce,
Oh yeah,
and then it's done, because like once if you coalesce, you've done the max you have to do, and if you don't coalesce, you're also done. So it
yeah.
just needs to be able to tell the parent about it.
Like I'm actually okay if we don't coalesce up front. I think that's actually an interesting idea that we should sit on. It's more the situation I'm worried about is that like you have a hash table of an object and it's
Mm-hmm.
in node X.
Mm-hmm.
You insert another thing in node X, which pushes node X over the limit. It means that node X has to subdivide,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the thing in the hash table is no longer in node X anymore. It's actually in a child of node X or just, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that we have to basically anytime we do the subdivision, we
Mm-hmm.
have to find all of if there was anything in that node when we subdivide, which definitionally there has to be, right? Because we hit the max.
It's right here. Yeah.
Yeah, we basically have to look up all those items in the hash table and then update where they are, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's not horrible, right? That's
Yeah.
not,
I mean, it's exactly 4 if we subdivide. That's okay.
Oh, yeah. We just have to make sure that there's a hash table update here in addition
Right.
to yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm down for that. Okay, so I like this because it's definitely getting cleaner. A parent is an optimization for removal, which we don't need yet. So
Yeah.
hold on to that.
Okay.
What we do need though is a private. We're gonna make this ID aware, right?
Yeah, so we'll have T and TID maybe. Or maybe we always return IDs and the comparator is what figures out. Well, we need to have position. The reason why we added position into the node, into the comparator was because.
But you're saying can the T node always be a string?
Oh no! I mean, I think we can make that generic. I think we can make it into a.
So sorry. Then what were we saying about?
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking about two things simultaneously, which never works very
Okay.
well as a human being. I was thinking about both the fact that we needed to be ID aware, which means that the contents of the quad tree are reducible down to like a list of ID values, which could be strings or numbers. Like we can make that generic. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
It's probably going to be a string though, because it is a hash table, and we're going to use a JavaScript. It's a string.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, this is a key string to T node.
Probably array of T nodes, because you could be a multiple. I think we've decided that you can be a multiple, right?
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. Um,
And so we want to assert, we want to make a type T that always has an ID on it. How do I do that? What is the type script
well,
for that?
that's what I was thinking as well. Was like, how do we?
This.
Yeah. Or you can do an interface Quadtree item, which is
Mm-hmm. All right, interface Quadtree item. Right, and this
which is
is.
ID string.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And then T implements, and then in line 9 T implements Quadtree
Yeah,
item.
yeah. That's.
And that's a. It doesn't have to be strictly
And this actually might need to be an
T
interface.
extends. Oh yeah, interface. Yes. T extends Quadtree item. Yeah.
Cool. That works.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so before we get to remove, so the node insert now also takes the ID map, correct?
Or insert returns the list of nodes. That's the other thing we could do.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
And you see how we could just accumulate them in an array here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah. Const nodes. And then, all right, this is just nodes dot concat. Just every time.
I think it's nodes equals nodes.concat because I think concat returns a new array. So
Yeah.
line 98 needs to be a let, and then the problem is
push.
we need a flattened push. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you can't.
Yep. Nope. Totally. Okay.
Yeah.
This is. I think I'm annoyed that it's just this much copying, but that's.
I know.
Yeah. Have I? Nodes implicitly has any type.
I think you just need to add a type annotation on line 98.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable.
I hate that so much, but I'm those people who design this are really smart. There's definitely a good reason for that.
I know. Every time I use this, I know they know what they're doing. But what if I, the person who hasn't thought about this at all, am actually correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
Should this be a loop now? Is this enough to?
It sure feels like.
Yeah.
But actually, so do we not loop over quadrants at all like that? Here we go. We did it the other time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm way happier about this. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be really fancy, it could be like a map and then a flatten, right? Like you could do like a
yeah.
We don't need to be fancy.
Not feeling that fancy yet.
Okay, that's fine.
So let's see. If the comparator fails, we return nothing. If the nodes, if it has children, we're returning the children. Oh, we're recursing. Okay. So this will fail. Like if we go into a quadrant, it's not there. We get empty back, so we're not going to return a bunch of unmatching nodes. If items.length is less than max items, we return node.
Yeah.
And if we've gotten all the way down here,
then we do the same thing that we did above, where this needs access to the hash table. This is the thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
Shit. Okay, so
so much for recursion.
yeah.
Right, because this actually will modify things in place a bunch. Yep. Okay. Well, that's fine. The loop that we just put in there, it's better.
Yeah, it's got that small.
And I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah. Fine.
But did I just have a comma there for absolutely no reason? I guess so. There we go. Node is gone. This is a void again. Okay, so we unfortunately do need the hash table.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. ID map is a key string to
array of T's. Array of T nodes. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. A node insert gets this dot ID map. And that is all she wrote. Cool.
Well, every recursive call needs that as well.
Damn it. Yeah, you're right.
And then a bunch of tests just broke, but whatever. They're just tests.
What do they know? Okay, cool. So then T-nodes, when a T-node splits, it actually is helpful that this array. Well, all right, wait, let's do the base case. ID map of item.id dot push.
It might not be in there, so we have to check to see if it exists.
Yeah.
This is where doing a Ruby or equals would be really nice, but or equals doesn't exist in JavaScript, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's not like I was thinking like Ruby fetch where you get the data or an empty array, but no.
I think like ES 2019 or 2020, they're going to do a question mark equals or something like that, which is the same thing as a Ruby or equals, but
question mark equals? No way.
Or at least question mark.
What? I mean, leave it to JavaScript to make up weird syntax, but
yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, this is great. Can I use this yet?
What is this? Yes, yeah, you can do ES 2019.
I can just plug this into Babel.
I
don't know what Babel does. Wait, in ours? No way.
Try the TS config.
Yeah.
I already did 2019, sorry.
Oh, Jeff. We're 10 days ago.
This is the problem. Well, you know how like we were running into issues last stream because like it wouldn't take our question marks.
Yeah, you fixed it.
That was because of this. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so wait a minute.
I don't actually know. Don't quote me on the question mark operator. Let me look it up as well. Two Googlers are better than one.
Ooh, sort stability. That's cool. JavaScript.
Is it not stable before?
Not for the same value, no.
What the fuck? Oh, okay. Whatever. It's JavaScript. Who cares?
I am not complaining. Okay.
The JavaScript nullish coalescing operator. It is on MDM. It is question mark.
Nullish coalescing.
Availability in Node.js 14.
Oh, we don't have that.
But we're transpiling though, so it's really more about its availability in versions of TypeScript. So I would just say type away, and if the IDE doesn't complain about it, then we're good.
So is it this? Wait, I've just never.
Oh wait, maybe the or will work actually. Oh, you know what? No, I mean the left hand side was coerced to a Boolean.
Because I want to.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So what you want to do here is you do atom ID map item ID equals,
Mm-hmm.
and you stutter it. ID map item ID
Ah, yeah.
question mark empty array. Yeah.
What? Okay, yeah. And then push node.
That's not going to work. We're going to have to like do the push on the second line because push does not return the object.
Oh,
So we
wait.
do ID map item ID dot push on the next line basically. And I don't know if question mark equals exists. I don't think pipe equals exists in JavaScript, right? That's a Ruby thing we're thinking of.
But this would do the correct assignment.
This, yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Why is the dot ID complaining?
I don't. It doesn't think that ID exists on T. But like.
Oh, because we're in the insert
Oh.
function. We need to add that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think what we should do is in Quadtree, we should move the node item into the helpers, the line 5 through 7.
I'm sorry.
The line 5 through 7 in Quadtree.ts, there's a class or an interface that's declared there that we should move into the helpers.ts.
Oh, this one? Okay. Yeah. I think you said 537. I was like, nothing is 537 lines long.
Sorry.
What are you talking about? No. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Huh. Right, because everything comes from here anyway.
Yeah, and then basically everything that uses T in helpers.ts needs to do that same extension expression.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to do type X equals T extends Quadtree item and then?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if extends is usable in a type alias. I think it's only usable in a generic expression. But that would
yeah, wait. You mean in here?
No. I meant just so we didn't have to repeat the extends everywhere. Because like if you go to helpers.ts, everywhere that we put T.
Oh, yeah. Wait, should this just be a Quadtree item T? Is that the problem? No. Yeah. It's this.
Yeah. Well, we could do quadratum T if you think that T is just going to be some opaque thing.
It's opaque to everything but the comparator, so actually yes.
So,
right?
So you'd basically just have in well, basically the only reason why you would do that in helpers.ts is
wow, I broke everything. Yeah.
Is you would if you did that, if you added T to line 5 like you had before, what you would do is you'd have an actual value property inside Quadtree item that was like it was called value and its type would be T. That's you would treat this as a wrapper rather than.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
this is fine then.
Yeah, but the reason why we got down this whole conversation is that inside helpers.ts, basically every place that uses a generic expression like line 19, like line 10, you need to turn that like less than T greater than into less than T extends Quadtree item greater than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only where we want to depend on ID, right? Or always. Because really, it's just that we want to be able to introspect the one property. So I think node insert is the only one that needs
Yeah,
it
I think
right
that's
now.
that's totally right.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. And wait, so this doesn't. Oh, because push returns the number. Yep. Cool. Okay, so here we're pushing. When you get pushed down, what is our...
So we just need something between line 126 and line 127 that removes the node that is going from being a leaf node to an intermediate node. We need to remove this node from the list of each one of its items. So we'd iterate over items.
Mm-hmm. And ID map item dot ID dot... Oh god.
There's not really a remove. I mean, the closest I've been able to do is like index of.
Mm-hmm. And these are object identical, so that's okay.
Yeah, that should be fine. And then do a splice using the result of that. Yeah. And then ID map item ID dot splice of to remove comma 1.
Yep. That's our single item removal. Okay. And then node insert is actually going to come through and
do the right thing. Yes.
Put in the right thing. Okay. So we're doing this for the case where something is into Quadtree buckets. Totally possible.
Yeah.
Unlikely in the current state, but totally possible. Okay.
Yeah. And then technically lines 128 and 129 are doing I'm actually not sure what splice is going to do maybe we should have like if to like above line 129 we should do if to remove is greater than or equal to 0.
Yeah, okay.
Now that's always actually going to be false except for the very last iteration because of line 117, right? Like we're iterating over items. We're iterating over items, and items we would have basically been guaranteed that like the ID map would have contained the node except for the very last one, because the very last one is the new one that's being inserted. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So I guess this is true except for the current one. That's okay though. You just don't want to splice it incorrectly.
Yeah, technically that like we're just doing too many conditional checks. We really only need to do that one for the very last one, but that's fine. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is a little bit confusing just by reading it why we're doing that check, because like I think most people would say like, wait, shouldn't we be guaranteed that node is in there? But we're not because of line 117.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I guess we could always pull this out so that it's never required. Is that clearer? Now we're doing like an extra one of these basically, but
yeah, I agree with you. This is fine. Yeah, let's do this. This is actually clear.
fewer conditionals. I feel good about that. Yeah.
Not only do we have less, it's just like less nested code. It's amazing how that principle just is a great tiebreaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then actually, public remove on the Quadtree is pretty darn simple right now.
It's going to be not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just saying ID map of ID. No, it's even easier, isn't it? It's this. Oh, but actually we need them first.
Yeah, we need to iterate over them.
Yeah.
And then you can do your fancy null coalesce here. It can be on line 42, I mean, because you're not guaranteed that the ID is actually in there. So you might get a null array. So like you want to do question mark. That's not going to work, unfortunately. It coerces that to a Boolean. So
this is where we're using it.
Exactly.
I got it.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's amazing. So wait, it's strange to me that it doesn't mark this as potentially undefined as a type.
So yeah, this was true of Hack, which is the language that I work in a lot at work. It's the PHP with optional types.
Hmm.
For them to go and change the type of an array access expression to from the type that's contained in the map to a nullable version of that type, it turns out that if you did that in practice, like you'd break so much code that like it's better to just treat that expression on line 42 as like being a non-nullable, which sucks. But yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Okay, so then we have a T. Index of won't quite work for us though. We need to find index.
Yeah, we need to do exactly a find on
find index of item.id.
exactly.
ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't know if items. Well, items should be an exclamation point, right? Like, we should be able to make a firm assertion that, like,
Oh, absolutely.
or else
Yeah.
the insertion didn't work correctly, right?
Yep. Okay, we're moving this as safe. So then we do n.items. Oh, we're doing a splice again. Yeah. Splice at index to remove one. And that's it. If index to remove
Is greater than or equals 0. Yeah.
this time, we do need to run it every time. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We have the map of things that we know exist in the nodes.
Exactly. It should be 100% consistent, right?
Cool.
And it's better not to be defensive in this case.
All right.
Oh, this is pretty good. I mean, I guess doing the hash table thing saved us from having to recurse on removal, right? Because we have this, like, essentially other organization of the content that we can use to make the removal quick.
Yeah, and gosh, I feel like this feels like a good path towards update as well. If we want, like,
exactly right, because now we can update quickly, right?
Right, because we can go to the node, and I think that's actually when parent is really helpful, because we go to the parent and say, like, hey, reinsert into your 4 quadrants because something has moved, and if it's not in any of those, like, go to your parent. So we actually get to recurse backwards in a very helpful way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But, right? Does that make sense?
It does, if we think that the depth of the tree is going to be a big problem, right? Because I think it's actually okay if we say if something moves, we remove it from the tree and then we just add it back in.
Mm-hmm.
I think your thing of, like, okay, if we remove it from the tree, then we want to, like, move up to the parent and then come down from there. Is we would do that if we're worried about the tree being super tall, right?
Yep.
And the depth being an iteration, like a performance problem, which it very well could be.
I guess I worry about insert how many items it needs to handle, or how many comparisons it needs to, versus, like, you can just say, like, am I still even in the same? Do I fit in this node? Great, don't worry about it. And if not, do I fit in the parent? But yeah, I agree. Total performance optimization. We do have potentially 1024 leaf nodes. But what's the depth of that?
What is our division factor?
We have right now our max item is 4.
It's 4. So basically, it's like.
So if we had an entity on every square, we would have this many leaves.
Yeah, it's like the log 4 of 1024, whatever the hell it is.
Oh god.
It's log of 1024 divided by log of 4. Yeah.
Is that what that is? Oh.
I think it is. I'm so bad at log math though. Like, it just never is never that intuitive to me.
Wait, does that mean we only have our max depth is 5?
Yeah.
That's fucking rad.
Yeah.
All right.
This power of exponents. Yeah.
I take it back. This is why log is great.
This is why quadtrees are great.
Yeah.
The whole point of the quadtree is to make the iteration over 1024 into iteration over 5, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's weird. So, and actually, like, Okay, so we could like
Yeah.
make some really good depth trade-offs
Yeah.
by bucketing larger. I'm seeing how it works.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't.
Well, this Quadtree is becoming like incrementally better. We're at 9 o'clock, so this is a good stopping point. But
I just say like, let me make sure like the game still runs.
oh,
Uh,
I don't even know. Yeah.
cannot read push. Where are my source maps at? Oh god, it's all the way in the server, and there's no source maps in the server. No.
We can look in the JavaScript code. We can open up server.js and um,
Oh, but it's here. Never mind. Oh, cannot.
well, that
How does-
exclamation point should have complained, right? Does that?
Yeah. What the heck?
You would think that would crash, right? You would think TypeScript would be adding a.
Oh, you know what it is? I think I took a return out.
Uh-huh.
You know what? This code isn't even modified because this was supposed to be here. Yeah, there we go.
Magical.
But yeah, should that bang raise an exception? Okay, game's fine. Whoa! Oh, clip it.
Yeah, that's the clip. That's gonna be the clip for this session.
I put it right at the end for you just to make it easy. Okay, I'm willing to commit this because at least it runs.
Yeah.
But I want to see it again. So it's as soon as I delete something. Oh, come on. Whoa. Cannot read property wall of undefined. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'll push this to GitHub.
Push to master, man.
Always.
Yeah.
We are brave here on JadMag. Dude, what number is this? 44.
Number 44.
All right.
A very unlucky number according to Chinese culture.
Mm-hmm. Get it? It's about quadtree removal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I'm doing right now.
Some of these technology puns are really good. There is an open source firmware like that replaces, I believe, UEFI, like like whatever the nth generation of what BIOS used to be, right? The software that runs your software. There's an open source version of that called Core Boot, and the Rust implementation is called Orboot because it's Core Boot without the C. But it's also a double entendre because like Rust and or like it's a very clever name.
That's really good. Yeah. I'm the Rust people. I feel like are where all the Ruby fun names went, and it's great.
Yeah. I believe Surly Dev just posted a chat. There's a video, which I'm assuming is just like about game development and how horrible it is, because the title is "Game Dev's Fine." ... What? So
no.
we'll go ahead and watch that after we hop off stream. Thanks a lot, Surly Dev.
Let's put that in the stream notes. Yeah. I'm gonna watch that. I'll probably cry. It'll be great.
Yeah. So tonight, what is it? 9 o'clock. It's a school night, but I may go in and continue working on this, but I'll probably just play Hades.
Let's you should go play Hades.
Hades. Yeah.
Yeah. Go get your heat level 10 run on.
I've been very conservative about my heat. I've been building it up from like incrementally, like ticking it upwards.
I was gonna say I'm incentivized to do heat in as small increments as possible, so I max out all my prizes. So
okay, yeah, well, let me ask you this: what are the easy heat increments for you?
Well, I'm still clearing out heat level 1, but I found extreme measures to be super duper easy.
That's where you have a second Fury that's attacking you at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I found the one where everything gets one hit of invulnerability before you can touch it to be very hard. It changed my entire strategy.
I did that for one of my runs. And
It
it's
creamed me.
definitely hard if you have like one of the perks that's like like Poseidon has a perk where it's like do extra damage in the first 10 seconds of the encounter.
Yep.
Um that's basically ruined by that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
but
it's
if you're
like
doing like spear where like you have to do the 2 hits to kill something, right? Like yeah.
yeah, I was just like amazed because I was like, oh, it's easy. I'll just hit everything twice. And I was like, I can't hit these things fast enough twice. Like I was trying to stay. It's like they don't stagger. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah. So, I'm doing like heat 1 and 2 right now ish. And I think the heat 2 that I think I always do like more expensive items in the shop. That's like one
Mm.
that I can tolerate. And then another one that I did, which I was surprised that it was not more difficult, was healing items heal you less.
Mm. Interesting. Easier than you thought. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll try that. I'll
the
try
ones
that
I'm
one
worried
next.
about are it's like more damage from enemies and more enemies in the room.
Yeah, more enemies is scary.
I also feel like maybe the one that's really bad is the one where armored enemies have like an extra power or something like that. That one sounds terrible, right?
That's like an instant three though, right? They give you a
Oh, is it?
ton for that. I think so.
Oh, because like armored enemies are the worst. They're like the thing to look out for in that game, and
Yeah.
like the worst is when you're in. I think the two worst encounters in that game for me is like when you're in Elysium and it's just like all armored exalted dudes. You know those little guys that run around and they become the little blobs.
I hate them so much.
I
No,
hate
you
them.
know what? Sorry, I know I was complaining about my worst enemy earlier, but the butterfly balls are actually the worst enemy.
I dislike them.
Yeah.
My worst enemy is the satyrs, actually.
Are they the ones that shoot poison at you?
Yes.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
Those rooms are too tiny.
There are some of those. There's some of those boss rooms in Styx are really challenging. There's just like a lot of spongy guys.
Hmm.
Yeah. Gosh, I
Yep.
can't wait till our game here with tanks is just a friggin'. We're gonna add invulnerability dash to this. Oh, Bolo should have dash though, right? That would be a totally dope upgrade, right?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tank Dash sounds rad.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
We're just gonna make this Hades. It's gonna be you collect boons from the you can collect boons from the anarchist societies funding you or the world government's trying to overthrow you. So you've got your chthonic and your non-chthonic gods going on too.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's funny because like we were both thinking isometric, and I was thinking like 3D rendered wireframe isometric, and you were thinking
Yeah.
sprite isometric, and and you were probably just channeling Hades, right? Let's just like sprite ISO the hell out of this. Yeah.
Oh, I always thought we were gonna do sprite ISO, even with the mesh. I thought it was just gonna be like
Oh, we're just gonna
2D
actually
2D
just
mesh.
draw the sprites. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
go 3D mesh.
what's that?
I would go 3D mesh.
I think it just might be easier. That's all. Like,
Yeah,
despite.
you might be right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, this was fun. I'm glad we're back into we're back in the swing of things.
Man, it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will see you on Thursday.
See you Thursday. See you,
Oh,
everybody.
wait, upcoming out. I'm working the polls the day before the election, which is a Monday.
Oh,
So
nice.
in 2 weeks, can't do it.
Should I do that too?
It's too late.
Yeah.
There's like, yeah, I'll complain to you about this next time.
Maybe I can just show up and insist on getting access to the polls. It's like, no, I must touch the ballots. That will not seem sketchy at all.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, be a ballot watcher. Bring your gun and make sure everyone can vote safely, just like the president asked you to.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'll go over well in our town.
I'm sure it will.
All right. Well, I will see see everybody on Thursday then.
All right, bye, Twitch.